Okay, so in this drawing, it doesn't have a very clear focal point. I mean, we see the guy, and that's fairly clear. But you have this no chicken sign, you have these gates and stuff. So let's improve your composition a little bit. Let's turn the opacity down. Let's put the gates this way, okay? And this is going to lead our eye to the guy who's watering. You could also consider putting your no chicken sign over here. And if we started off on this and then panned over, pulling out a little, then panned over to see the guy here, then we'd see no chickens, then a guy. That way we'd set up the fact that he's got a garden. He doesn't want any chickens in it. These bushes here are really kind of distracting, kind of get in the way. I would pull some of those back a little bit. See how that already helps? And that's even without like putting these gates here. And also things in the foreground, make them darker. That helps give a sense of space. Things in the background, lighter. And you could even, let's see, you could even design your background a little bit more to draw our eye to the guy. Already this is helping. And we could, put some bushes here. Yeah, that keeps our eyes from going off this direction. Okay, so you have this guy here, and there's all this line work that's kind of attracting my eye over this. At the very least, just like bring down the opacity a bit. Or you could, another thing is you could just take the dude and move him over, put him a bit off screen. He's back here. Then we don't see his face. And we're focused on this guy, like, hey, this is the job. Like this is gonna put us on the map. All right, so this is good. You have a clear focus of your drawing, these two guys. You could strengthen that a little bit more by take this and really, let's put the car here. And now it's more perspective pointing at the guy right there. Okay. And we probably want to just put a little bit of airspace here. And I can bring that, pass it down. So that makes these guys pop a little bit. And I would even like bang out those trees right there. And this one here, make it a little bit taller. So now we have those lines that point to the guy. Okay. Okay. Let me show you a couple things you can do on this drawing. It's pretty dramatic and pretty cool. Want to show you just how to add a little bit more depth to this, but you do have quite a bit of depth. So this hand here, right? Now let's put the sphere here. Okay, there we go. This is shield over here. That's cool. And now this tusk, let's make it bigger. This one off screen. I'd get rid of this blade of grass here, and here you have the elephant mouth. It's gonna bite the guy. He's starting to get up. So we're replacing this thing here with the leg. And this is the front leg, like he's starting to stand up. So, well, okay, we need your drawing there because I didn't fully render mine. But here's our dude. Now see how we've got this trunk, this tusk, this ear, all leading to our focal point, which is the guy. Now he's got a spear pointing back at the elephant, and his shield also leading to the elephant's mouth. And the elephant is leaning towards him. He's leaning this way. It's conflict. That could make that drawing a little stronger. Nice drawing though. Okay, here, giving the hug. Great drawing, but oh my gosh, there's so many lines. I don't know what I'm looking at. It takes a little bit. In a storyboard drawing, you want to be able to read it instantly. Like look at it and you can see exactly what's going on. So you've done a great drawing here. It's a little bit hard to find out exactly what's going on to giving a hug. So we could do a few things to simplify it and also pop it so that we can see it a little better. Let me show you. So the first thing I would do is whiten the tiger's eyes. Also brighten her and a little bit of shading out, which separates her from the background of the tiger. You could even simplify some of the lines on the tiger a little bit, so we just see it a little bit. I know I've kind of ruined your drawing by drawing some crappy stuff over the top of it, but hopefully you get the idea of what I'm talking about here. So, all right, on this shot here, let's have a lower camera angle and put candles up here, here. Here's the Ouija board. which you probably really shouldn't mess with Ouija boards in real life because why invite evil spirits? Okay, there we go. Now put the dude here on the slight upshot. And here's your ceiling. Now you've got some dramatic, a dramatic shot with this Ouija board, and he's going to call this ghost from the past. Um, Now this part here, where the hand comes to grab it, all right, you see this? It looks like he leans his neck in. What you're going to want to do is separate the action here. And what I mean by that is we're going to take, so this is panel A. Panel B is you're going to take this hand and move it over and grab the guy and then pull him back. So you need an extra panel between here and here. So A, B, C, A, B, C, that one. Hope that helps there. Also, what you could do is just add a little bit of shading in here. That just kind of separates the dude from the background a bit, either there or shade out this spot. And then we see it's reaching through a hole and grabs the guy. And you could even just give this robot arm a color, separate it from the guy. That could also help. The camera's probably up a little bit high here. I would do something more like, if the dude is good, let's put his chairs here, right? So then her desk is going to be here. Rather than seeing the top of her desk, because the camera's sort of low, we just have her leaning in like, yo, homeboy. And if you put a little bit of body language in here, let's have the break here. You know, you broke my thing. You broke my square, even though it's a triangle shape. I know what it is. I know what it is. There we go. Now let's zoom out a little bit. Okay. Now to get the full effect of this, erase that. Okay. All right. Now, do you see the difference there between that and that? And you could even like, you know, well, might as well. Let's shade Rio in here. Let's turn this back up. Now we create a little bit of depth in the drawing. So from there to there, it's like she's leaning. So that just strengthens your composition a bit. And also, we wouldn't really see these characters like this. Your other characters in the background would be down here. There's the other person in the back of the class. We adjust the camera to where it realistically is. Okay. Do that. That way, her head is higher than everybody else's. We go to this shot. You have her head higher than everybody else's, but you have this big tangent running through her head, and you have this other character kind of competing for space that's on the same level as this. So I think if you do what I was suggesting, boom, boom, there. Now we put her higher up, put everybody else considerably lower. It makes the composition a little stronger. Gets pounded on by the guy. Okay, to make this stronger, and you've started to do it here, we could push this a little more. To really feel this punch, I suggest that you put his hand here and his face over here. Now, let's add a little bit of white to this so we can see what's going on. There we are. So we're leaving a kind of a hole there. So that makes it just a little stronger. You're on the right path. I would just push a little forward, like really punch the guy. See the difference? You can almost feel the impact. And also you could do that on the same this shot here, punch him in the gut. You could push that a little more, punch him on the face there. The girl singing is the focus of our drawing, right? So this is what we're looking at. We have another girl over here watching, and she's putting her arm up in the air, and she's projecting as she sings the song. Okay, do you have a lot of stuff going on here? Your background is the same intensity as your foreground. So initially, what I would do is bring the opacity of your background down. So here, let's just quick and rough paint out your background. And now let's lighten that up. Okay. So hopefully you can see there already separates her from the background and a little easier to look at. But that's not enough. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this. So we have the girl singing with her. She's got her foot up on something. So let's tip her head up. And there she's singing with her hand on her heart. Let's push this pose a little more. All right, now we have the other girl in the foreground here who's watching. And you have this, the one who's singing in front of a window. So on another layer, let's make the window as big as the girl. Go. Is it framing around it? Did you have curtains? Let me see. You did have curtains. Okay. So we put the curtains there. All right, now, add a little bit of shading to this. So our foreground character gets some shading, and our background can have some shading too, but a lighter color. So there we are. That's how I would suggest you do this. Now she's backlit because she's in front of a window, right? So we can, if you want, do this. There we go. And just leave a little bit of rim light around everything. There we go. So that's how I would strengthen this composition that you have. See the difference? We want to focus on the girl who's singing. And so we want to bring the other things down a bit so we don't see it as much. One other thing I didn't do, but we can do, let's fix it real quick, is things that are closer to the camera, they have a thicker line. So here's our girl in the foreground. All right. And we can even just make it a little bit darker. There we go. Now we know someone's in the foreground watching this girl in the background who's singing. So what's happening here for me anyways, it's a little too rough. Not that rough is bad, but there's so many here. Let me turn the opacity back. There's so many lines going on here. Her expression gets lost. So if you could just take another pass at this and just sort of, tidy it up. Let's see, was she holding a card or something? Actually, let's fix that just a little bit. Let's put the card here. There we go. And she's got a pillow and a bed that she's laying on. All right, turn that off. And here we go. Let's finish that. And we could just drop a little bit of shadow behind it here. Let's do that on another layer. And bring the opacity. There we go. It just makes it a little more clear, the drawing. And even that's a rough, as opposed to this with all the lines. So be mindful of that. This shot, a lot of tangents. You don't want tangents in your story drawing. They just distract the eye and make you look at a spot that you're not really wanting to look at. Now, this would be a really easy fix. All you got to do is just take, paint out your character. Dum, 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 and a little bit of airspace between the stuff he's looking at. And you could even like shade in the mud just so it reads a little stronger. Also, a couple more tangents I didn't paint out. Here we are. See how that makes it, see the difference there? Just easier to look at. Very simple fix. I would even suggest that you put the tree over here, not here. And that way it also points to the guy.